Hi, Jen and Adam.
Hi,
Julie. How are you?
Good. So good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm excited to have this conversation. We love to hear from our supporters and love to hear your stories of what brought you to Thorn and helped really inspire you to be a part of this mission. So thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, really happy to be here and excited to share.
All right. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourselves and how you came to be Thorn Donors.
Well, I'm Jen, and I am originally from LA and back again by way of Kansas and New York. My background is actually fashion design at a women's wear label for about 12, 13 years. And my interest in fundamental human rights began very early as a child.
And I'm Adam. I'm also in LA because that's my wife. I got here through Kansas and New York, and in a past life, I co-founded a company called GIPHY, which is a search engine for animated GIFs. And I was introduced to Thorn by Jen. After we got engaged, we were planning our wedding, and we wanted our guests to give to some charitable organizations that we were passionate about. Thorn was one of them, and we've been working ever since for about 7 years.
How did you first get introduced to the issue of child sexual abuse and the intersection with technology? Like, how did this issue come into your realm?
It actually was a younger friend of mine, and she is a yoga teacher. And she was starting to tell me about her work of working with inmates and using yoga therapy. And then that sort of progressed into her desire to work with survivors of human trafficking. And she was talking to me about it. And I was like, wow, this is the first time someone's having a real conversation with me about it. Someone who's actually really passionate about it, wants to work hands on, and we're learning from each other. And that was still more of like a global perspective rather than like a next door neighbor type of perspective. So I was still not completely aware of just how prevalent this issue was. And I remember her telling me that she went through training to work with survivors. So through her, I actually met a survivor of global human trafficking. And that after that, I was just done. Like, I'm like, I cannot focus on anything else. But it was difficult. Like, I mean, tried to talk to my friends about it. No one wants to talk about it. Tried to get my friends to watch the documentary on this woman. No one wanted to watch it. A common response is like, I work all day. I don't want to come home and think about these things, you know?
Yeah, it's a hard thing to look at. So it's impressive that like you go towards it and you're like, I want to be a part of addressing this.
Yes. So I think I know the first time that the crossover with technology came for Adam and I was our wedding. I think that was the most gratifying moment up in that journey so far is that so many people chose your charity to give to. And that was touching. I'm like, okay, maybe people are more ready to talk about it. And the same friends who were not ready to talk about it before now have children that are 13, 14, and now they're ready. Now they want to have the conversation because they're seeing the potential.
Yeah. I think, Adam, you could see how the technology both could be a weapon for abusing kids, but also an opportunity
Yeah.
for how do you address this issue?
So Jen's had a longer history with this, obviously, than I have. At the time, I was deep in the throes of running GIPHY. We'd started it, I think, in like 2013 or 2012. And so I'd had a pretty good exposure to technology at that point. I'd been working in tech for like 15 years on the strategy, the product, and the business side. And so when Jen showed me and taught me about Thorn, obviously it was a no-brainer because this is a really important problem and it needs all the help and all the power it can get to try to combat child sexual abuse online and trafficking as well. But when it was this intersection of technology and how Thorn was demonstrating how your team uses technology and the different applications, the different ways in, it was really thoughtful. It was really powerful. And very quickly from what we were building at GIPHY and from the partners we work with, whether it was like, giant big social networks or really big distributed platforms, places where lots of content gets shared with lots of interaction, it was obvious that there needs to be some sort of underlying protection and underlying alert system to catch all of these really messy problems and this really, really hurtful content. and then do something about it, not just like remove it from the platform, not just police it and say, hey, we've scrubbed it, it's gone. And Thorn, at every step of the way, not only were you guys doing really interesting and innovative stuff, you were making it like kind of an open book for us, which was really, really impressive and honorable. Like, here's how the sausage is made in a way. And you showed us your tech stack. You were happy to talk about how AI plays a part, or different new algorithms are coming into play, or how you work with platforms to identify CSAM and get it off the platform. Sorry, child sexual abuse material. So all of that was like really, it rang my bells from a technology standpoint, because it wasn't, I think a lot of folks talk about technology sort of broadly. Maybe they sort of hang their hat on saying, hey, we're technologically fluent, or we're building a stack that, and really when you unfold it, or you sort of pull the curtain back, you realize they're just using something off the shelf, or it's not that sophisticated. But Thorn, really, you guys put your money's where your mouths are, and you built really powerful, really strong things. And that was evident from the start. And that's partly because of the intelligence of your team, but also like the willingness of your team to always share and be open and be communicative. So that was really exciting.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I, sh- I should also say, actually, this was a pivotal moment for us because I'm completely analog. I think I'd spent years browbeating Adam over the evils of technology and not understanding why he wasn't doing something different. And then when we came across Thorn, I was like, okay, you were right. There are good things that can be done with tech. And I am pivoting a little bit in my perception. Yeah.
Yeah. And as my beard has gotten grayer, it's just the truth.
I'm right there with you. So it's true.
Yeah, I've had a really interesting evolution with my own relationship with technology, which is also like Thorn. Jen brought Thorn to me, and we started working together with Thorn, and like a really awesome and interesting sort of pivot point in my relationship to the thing that I have been passionate about for a very long time. When I started in technology in the early aughts, I guess it was a much different landscape. It was really exciting. It was really novel. A lot of the things that we're using now that I would also state have really negative impact on people's lives from their mental health or other reasons. Those things are like barely starting, and they were kind of like art experiments, and they were social experiments, and it would be interesting. Let's just see how this goes. And everything felt kind of exciting, novel, creative, and honest, and sort of earnest, right? And as things have gone on, it's obviously changed entirely. And so what was like a cool experiment to say, hey, here I am, let my friends know, and let's see if people like want to do that, has turned into stuff that drives people to all kinds of terrible behaviors, and all kinds of terrible thoughts, and all kinds of difficulties and problems and anxieties and maladjustments, and also malevolence to some extent, right? So coming across Thorn was, I'm sort of like putting the brakes on my passion for technology, and like I actually want to keep it at arm's length a bit, was the right thing, because this is powerful technology being used for good to try and turn the giant cruise ship, or whatever you want to, for lack of a better term, trying to make that turn start, which is it's hard to do, to turn something that big.
Yeah. It's really interesting to hear your stories because you bring together, this long passion for human rights and education, but also the lens of technology and the importance of this really powerful tool that can be wielded for bad, wielding it for good versus ignoring it.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe just talk a little bit more about that. Jen, I'd be curious because you had funded mainly or focused mainly in the human rights space, but this kind of realization that a lot of these harms are now online, are being facilitated by technology, and that needs to be a part of the solution as well.
So, while for me, the fundamental human rights aspect is like immediate trigger, it's not for him necessarily. And so, and the technology part often throws me off because I just have this like instinctive adverse reaction to it. But having him sort of help me understand it too, like it's good. It's a good partnership
Yes.
all around. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
um
I mean, that's the interesting thing about Thorn, right? Is we're at this interesting intersection where when we started 10 years ago, we said we're going to work at the intersection of child sexual abuse and technology. And back then, people were like, wait, what? but what's there? And that we were just starting to see this, and now it affects, everyone with an internet connection and all their children.
I think that's the like I always try to figure out what are the easiest terms to put it in for somebody. Like we're part of Jen's Families Foundation, which is awesome, and we get to do lots of interesting work. And like you said, Julie, a lot of it's focused on human rights, and a lot of that is happening in the real world. Whether we're helping deliver meals and get places into conflict zones, if we're trying to get people out of places, if we're trying to support organizations on the ground there, I think those are a little bit more obvious and a little bit more traditional. Those muscles get flexed a lot in philanthropy, but for what Thorn does and the way that the world works, I guess the best way that I can put it into is like we are throwing all of this might and brain power at like AI, or we're throwing it at social media, and all these businesses are growing and getting big and getting pop. But like that same strength and muscle can be thrown into solving the problem online as well. Like it deserves to have the same respect, right? It deserves to have the same resource. We shouldn't just be building up these big commercial engines. We should also be alongside them building up things that keep people safe online. And if we don't support that, it atrophies, and then things are going to really get strange.
Yeah. Well, thank
And
you for supporting that.
yeah,
That's
well,
what you do. You're the people who make our work possible. Thank you for giving me so much time today. I have one more question for you. I feel really proud that we get to spotlight you guys because I think you're awesome. And I'm grateful that you've shared your story. If you're talking to others who are considering becoming supporters of Thorn, what would you tell them?
well, first off, do it. Don't hesitate. I don't think there's any reason to second guess that investment or that support.
I mean, actually, since our wedding, people have asked many times to learn more. So it was pretty exciting to see actually, like, I didn't need to do that much talking. Like, it was after that where people started like, oh, this and like, what else? And like, I started sharing the other organizations that the resources that you shared with us. And then there were people that were from New York and like, oh, are there any organizations there? And that was really gratifying. Like, after so many years of people saying, no, don't talk to me about this, it was so lovely for people not to be like, you chose that for your wedding, because that was always a response before. And so if people ask me now, I mean, I actually don't get that question. It's actually more like, oh, if I can direct a donation to Thorn in a certain program, what should it be? Right. And so I don't have to validate anything anymore. I don't have to prove anything anymore. I don't have to try to pressure someone anymore. It's beautiful to see that people are just more open to the conversation now.
If you're thinking about supporting Thorn and should I go, should I not, you kind of like not sure. If you are weighing it against other things that you have a fixed amount of dollars and you're trying to invest and you don't know where to put it, and it's one versus another. The couple of things that I would keep in mind are that in a world that is increasingly reliant on technology, whether it's artificial intelligence, social media, or various amounts of machine learning and natural language processing and large language models and all these things you're going to hear about, GPTs, having safeguards in that world is critical. If we don't have safeguards in that world, it will increasingly become a very dark place. I think that's my opinion. So I'm not saying that for Thorn or anybody else. It will be dangerous. It will be risky. It will be places where I don't think we'll be comfortable letting young people go without supervision. It used to be like I could go ride my bike in my neighborhood by myself and my parents would leave me alone and I was 10 years old and nothing would happen. Like today, that would never happen. That's about where we're going with the internet. It's like you can't let somebody go on there without supervision. If there are safeguards and there are safe things built to protect people online, that helps. And it's paramount. That's one. The second is if you're like really impact focused, if you need data driven results and things that show you that your dollars are going to good impact, because Thorn is so based in technology. They have a wonderful method of reporting. So actually, even though it seems big, even though their organization might be large relative to other things you're giving to, or maybe they're not, every year and every quarter, they can show you exactly how they're moving the needle, and they are moving it in significant ways because technology compounds. And so there's a multiplier in everything they do. So if it's smart this year, it's even smarter next year, right? It gets better and better and faster and faster. So for me, those are like two like obvious answers. If you're putting money to work, then this is where you should put it.
I'm curious because you do work with a lot of nonprofits. What's unique about working with Thorn as a nonprofit, as an organization you support?
So many good
A
things.
lot.
Yeah, so many good things.
I actually have a lot to say about this because working with Thorn, there's no ego. Everyone truly is out to for the same cause. There's endless resources that you guys have provided us for different prongs of attack for the same cause. There's a willingness to just share all the resources that we both have. Like it's been mutual. And that's just not true for all the other organizations that we work with. And this is what makes it fun. Like I think we call ourselves when people ask about like when you invest in things, whether it's business or if it's philanthropic, we are invested investors. And some people don't enjoy that. And
Yeah.
some people just would really rather, I mean, majority would rather you dump the money and please don't bother us about what you think is important.
Thank you. Thank you both. And anything else you want to add? But you've already given us so much of your time today. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, just one last thing to add. There are certain tools that we've created that we are not responsible enough to handle.
Hmm.
And it's an unfortunate thing because in all these, like, Adam used to tell me all these things are like, oh, technology can do this, technology can do that. I'm just thinking, like, yes, but that's in the hands of humans and it's dangerous. So, yeah, I guess it's just like kudos to Thorn for helping create some responsibility, taking the responsibility because other people are not. And we need more of that.
My last note is that you guys are the very realist, very best people. We're talking about technology and stuff, but the team itself it really is a wonderful group of folks. Everyone cares deeply and everyone brings a really good attitude every time we connect. It's inspiring. So thanks.
Well, thank you. You are the people who make this work possible. You've been supporters of ours for many, many years. And as you've said, like our ability to grow and scale and address the size of the issue that's in front of us is a direct result of your support and collaboration. So thank you so much for being a part of our community.
You're very welcome. It's really easy for us to do it. Yeah, we don't deserve the praise. I think that goes to you and the Thorn team.
Well, thank you. Mutual love fest. Right back at you.
There you go.
All right. Thanks.